Thanks to this video sponsor, Campfire Blaze, I will soon be invincible.
Let's see how things are going right now. Maybe I won't feel the need to escape reality today. Nope, back to Fantasyland I go. Time to dust off my D20 and begin preparing to jump back into tabletop gaming in my increasingly desperate attempts to escape reality. Terrible writing advice already covered how to become a proper dungeon master for a tabletop role-playing game, but what about the player characters? Well, TWA has come to their rescue with this handy guide. So get your character sheets ready and dust off your player's handbook, and let's dive into writing a character for a tabletop role-playing game. First, we should start with what the overall goal is, so we don't lose sight of what's important. For the Dungeon Master, the goal is to find whatever fun is in the game and grind it into the dirt. So, while for the DM, the game is all about forcing players into the role of the passive audience for their own greatness, for the player, their goal is only to have fun. However, since we all know that fun is a zero-sum game, that means that any fun acquired at the table must be at the cost of the fun of everyone else. So how do we get all the fun for ourselves? Well, we start with our character's backstory. When it comes to player character's backstory, there are only two extremes to choose from. Two options. On one end is the character that has no family, no origin, no connections, no home, and no backstory. Now, at first glance, this seems counterproductive. Don't we play tabletop role-playing games to roleplay? Exactly! And the role I choose to play is that of a treasure-obsessed murder hobo, or as they are sometimes called, generic adventurers. Now, a character without a backstory can be useful if the game is mostly focused on combat scenarios, but why confine the murder hobo's utility to only hack-and-slash campaigns? The backstory-free murder hobo has no connections to anyone that the Dungeon Master can use against them. No sidekicks for the villain to abduct, no adorable children to hold hostage, not even a favorite tavern to burn down. This becomes a massive advantage when the murder hobo begins killing off all of the Dungeon Master's precious NPCs. The Dungeon Master can't retaliate by killing off my character's family because he spawned from nothing, save for my endless well of trollish intent. This works doubly well when everyone else in the group has solid characters with engaging backstory, and here's my character who's just there. And then when I murder non-player characters the rest of the party has grown attached to, they can't just say it's out of character because my character doesn't have any character. If pressed, then I'll just claim that my character's backstory is too deep for you to understand, and that anyone foolish enough to explore my character's backstory will get cut on all the edge I filled it with. Now, I covered one end of the spectrum about a character that has no backstory, but on the other end is a character who has all of the backstory. Rest assured, there is nothing a Dungeon Master loves more than to see a 1,000-page long document outlining my character's backstory and powers, edit my backstory down into a few core elements and a handful of complementing plot hooks. Why would I do that? My character I'm playing, Mary Sue, is perfect along with her novel-length backstory full of crap that I'm sure the DM will have time to include somewhere. For you see, my character is an orphan who grew up on the streets with amnesia, but is really a dispossessed noble who must reclaim their throne from a usurper, because it turns out that my character is a member of an evil race, but my character is actually good and trying to prove to everyone that not all of my evil race is actually evil, and that they're also half dragon, half drow, half kitsune, half catgirl, fighter monk, wizard rogue, barbarian bard that has 2 special katanas of destiny, and a hat that lets her leap between dimensions. Oh, and her eyes change color too. And her hair. Oh right, I almost forgot, she also has a pet Tarrasque and starts at epic level. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. If not, then I'm going to pitch a fit and rant about how my creativity is being stifled by blatant DM railroading and their unreasonable demands that I at least stick to the setting when creating my character. Of course, we play role-playing games to pretend to be someone special. That means that my character needs to be even more a special snowflake than everyone else. In fact, the entire game should revolve around me. I mean my character, of course. Design a character that matches with the game's tone and provides ample plot hooks, as well as room for character growth? You see, I've done that. There's still plenty of room for character development because there's still a whole bunch of powers and abilities I want to take. And anyone who tells you that powers and abilities can't substitute for characterization has obviously never seen a superhero movie. I mean, yeah, I don't have a special effects budget that could feed the entire third world, but I'm sure that will translate perfectly to the tabletop. My one-note joke character will fit in perfectly in this multi-session epic with a focus on high-stakes drama, and that the character's only joke won't wear thin after a single session. I could have consulted with the DM and worked out the details of my character with them, restrict myself to the medieval fantasy of the setting like everyone else, but I want to be an adolescent shinobi kappa that was exposed to mutagens. Just remember when designing a character that the goal isn't to participate in a fun, relaxing game with friends. No, we need to defeat the Dungeon Master and the other players in a non-existent game of one-upsmanship. When it comes to Dungeon Masters, the best way to view them is as an opponent who must not simply be defeated. Oh no, simple defeat is too good for the DM. I want to see them crushed, their campaign in flames, their precious story dashed, and their favorite NPCs slain. I will accept nothing less than seeing the DM brought to tears in order to satiate my ego. So, to best facilitate our road to victory over the DM, I have compiled this handy list of common DM archetypes, as well as some of the best tactics and strategies that can be employed to defeat them. Remember, know your enemy. The clueless first-timer. Oh yes, an easy foe to defeat. This poor sap has no idea what they are in for. Give them no mercy. Take advantage of their inexperience. In general, I bully them to get what I want, and most are too worried about being one of those mean railroading DMs, so they will almost always give in to demands when pushed rather than just saying no. While simple to defeat, just make sure to not go easy on them or encourage them, or even worse, give them useful feedback to help improve their future dungeon mastering skills. Right before the first session is also a great time to have a big fight with one or more of the other players and to have everyone leave angry before the game even begins. The Killer DM. A difficult opponent, the Killer DM measures his success in dead characters, specifically your characters. Unfortunately, there is no easy way to defeat a Killer DM short of fudging dice rolls when he's not looking. The important thing is that if a Killer DM isn't your style, then don't just leave and find a game that isn't the Dark Souls of tabletop, but to instead stick it out no matter how miserable it makes everyone. The Fetishist. This deviant has an unsavory sexual fetish that for some reason he feels the need to share with everyone else at the table, whether they like it or not. Spoilers, they won't like it. Now, the biggest mistake one can make with a fetishist is just leaving to find someone who will run a game where everyone isn't lactating and pregnant with octuplets, even the male characters. Unfortunately, the world is small enough that we all just have to put up and tolerate creepy behavior. The Storyteller. This kind of DM is just a joy to defeat, because unlike some other DM types, this one is super invested in their campaign. This makes it especially enjoyable to send their carefully crafted story careening down in flames. They also have a habit of railroading, but trains get derailed all the time, and a storyteller's plot tends to be as fragile as it is complicated. Now, a player could work with the storyteller to create a truly interesting and satisfying character arcs, but then I won't get to see them break down into tears when I ruin their precious plots so I can indulge in my petty need for short-term self-gratification. The Pinata DM. There is no need to defeat this DM because they will defeat themselves by showering the party with more awesome stuff faster than you can say game-breaking balance issues. Since they will never tell me no, I might as well indulge in all the free and insanely overpowered homebrew magic items until the game's challenge evaporates shortly before the group's interest in it does. The Master Planner. You have to watch this one. Planners have huge binders full of notes, and while their railroading can still be derailed, they tend to have far more backup plans than the storyteller. Unfortunately, the only ways to defeat a Master Planner is by war of attrition, or by becoming an even more masterly planner than them. Never bother to work with them to become part of the plan. Why be part of the plan when you could be part of the problem? Open World Sandbox DM. This DM is far more difficult to defeat than the others because they usually don't even have a plot railroad to derail. They also have this annoying habit of letting player characters hang themselves by essentially allowing the natural consequences of their actions to play out. They also tend to be very good at improvisation. Alas, the only way to defeat them is to not make your own plot, but to instead just sit there and do nothing while the DM stews in frustration that they have built this big sandbox only for the players to have no imagination to actually interact with it. You can give me a railroad plot to derail, but you can't give me freedom and expect me to use it. The Old School. Ah, finally, a worthy opponent. He knows the rules inside and out. His settings have been strengthened through years of homebrewing and honed to a fine edge with countless campaigns. Derailed his plot? That's fine. He has contingency plans within contingency plans. Kill his pet NPC? That's fine. He always wanted to do an arc where your character gets chased by bounty hunters. Think you've bested killer DMs before? They don't hold a candle to the old school DM and his kill count. He's killed enough characters over the years to fill the Tomb of Horrors with their discarded character sheets. The true apex predator on the tabletop. Count yourself lucky to have survived a single session, much less to the end of his campaign. There is no trick you can pull, no tactic that you can use, no strategy that you can implement that the old school DM hasn't seen before over his long years of experience. Sometimes the only way to pull one over on the old school DM is to do something so stupid and amateur that even the old school will be taken by surprise. That guy. Behold through the haze of Cheeto dust and be amazed at the magnificence of the most glorious DM to ever grace the tabletop. That guy. Did you think just because that guy has the equivalent intelligence of intestinal worms and about the same level of hygiene that this would somehow prevent him from attempting to DM his very own campaign? Oh, never underestimate the tenacity of that guy. Is he as vicious as the killer DM? Oh no, there is no sweet release of death in his game. Is he as perverse as the fetishist? Oh no, the fetishist at least understands the concept of shame, unlike that guy, which is immune to all forms of self-awareness. His settings are a combination of overused anime tropes and bad Saturday morning cartoons. His pet NPCs will be showered with constant overpowered gear, and the plot will always revolve around his self-insert NPC that renders all of the player characters into passive observers. The only creativity he will display is when describing the tavern wench's jiggle physics. When faced with someone else displaying creativity, that guy can only act with befuddlement before pointedly ignoring the accomplishments of others to go back to what he knows best, throwing everything he thinks is cool into a blender and then thinking that this foul-smelling soup of stale tropes is somehow an unparalleled work of originality, rather than an incoherent mess that even the most self-indulgent isekai writer would consider excessive. His impulsive need for self-gratification outstrips even my own. The only way a game run by that guy could be even better is if everyone else at the table is also that guy. Truly, this is the pinnacle of the tabletop RPG experience, and not an excuse to find a new gaming group as soon as possible. Now that we know how to defeat our main enemy, the DM, we need to move on to another dangerous foe, the other players. You see, it's not enough that I ruin the game for the DM, but that I can also use this cooperative gaming experience and the undivided attention of my fellow players as a captive audience for my emotional smallness. Compromise by giving up total freedom to have fun however I want for a net gain in fun for the entire group? What nonsense is this? It's almost like this is supposed to be a cooperative experience or something. I want to do whatever I want and everyone else just needs to deal with it. For example, what if the rest of the party decides to talk to Professor Plothook because they're genuinely on board with the Dungeon Master's plot? Well, this is a great time to murder Professor Plothook and derail the whole campaign. Who cares if this ruins the fun of everyone else? That's their problem. The main point is that I get to have a little thrill as I get to experience a fleeting moment of power and control over everyone else. I should continue to just randomly murder NPCs even after the rest of the party gives me multiple chances to cooperate and roleplay with the other characters. Then express surprise when the rest of the party labels me an edgelord and finally kills my character before booting me from the group. Even if the whole group decides to torment the DM, that's okay as well, because the DM isn't supposed to have fun too. That's ridiculous. God's forbid we all just sit down before the game starts and work out what exactly the focus and expectations of the campaign will be, nor should any player get a feel for a new group and their style. The point isn't to try to make new friends, but to fill that bottomless void that can be only satiated with fleeting moments of enjoyment derived from baiting others into anger or sadness. But what if you have an unresolved beef with another player? Resolve this conflict like reasonable adults outside the game? Agree to set aside differences during the game? No! The best place to resolve petty personal grudges is obviously in-game, in full view of everyone else and at the cost of the group's immersion, because there is no audience quite like a captive audience. See, the main weakness of most other players is they have this mistaken impulse to keep the party intact, and will try to stop your character from doing stupid, blatantly suicidal things. This is the perfect weapon to use against them. Not only does your character go down in flames, but the mark of a truly good player is one that manages to take down the rest of the party with him. That total party kill may technically go to the high-level dragon I decided to fight in spite of the rest of the players' protest, but in spirit, true credit for the party's ultimate defeat goes to me. And that is what all true players should aspire to. Well, that and stiffing everyone else on the pizza bill.
Foolish heroes, you are too late to stop my evil plan, and now are at my mercy. None will escape, and your deaths will be full of anguish.
Huh. So that's what this looks like from the other side.
Sorry, old habit. I'm so used to gloating to the captured heroes that I forgot that most of you lot are villains. Oh well, might as well give you the full treatment with a public execution after my long-winded New Age speech.
You fiend! Oh, that did not feel right at all.
We will stop you. You know, Dark Lord, you're right. That does feel weird.
Ha! Nothing could stop me now that I've captured the hero. I mean, my fellow villains. This is so awkward. You know what? Screw this. I'm going to cash out. You losers can rot in here while I enjoy my sponsorship money. And no summoning those weird ham monsters. Looking at you, hooded McCultist dude.
For the last time, that's not us. Ham monsters are body horror. We're cosmic horror. It's all tentacles and misshapen otherness. Besides, body horror is so 80s.
You won't get away with this? Ugh, I feel I need to wash out my mouth after saying that.
Fools, I have already won. You see, with this video sponsor, Campfire Blaze, I will be unstoppable. Campfire Blaze is a browser-based writing organizational tool to help novel writers, screenwriters, dungeon masters, and very busy evil emperors of large-scale galactic empires to keep organized with plots and timelines to help keep track of the story's flow and which general to kill for failure. It can even be used to collaborate with multiple users in real time, like coordinating with a tabletop gaming group. Not to mention the word processor, character sheets, character arcs, relationship details, and even tools to flesh out magic systems, languages, and artifacts. Try the free version or build your own subscription by choosing only the modules you need by going to bit.ly/TWA2-21. TWA friends can also use the coupon code TWA21 at checkout to receive 20% off all lifetime purchases of Blaze modules. Link is in the description below.
The Federation military will never let the evil empire keep all that juicy sponsorship money. Oh, and, something freedom and democracy. Besides, even with all that cash, I doubt the evil empire will ever crawl its way out of its deficit.
Oh, there is where you are wrong. For you see, our Imperial intelligence agents have discovered the TWA Expanded Universe Blaze project, and we have found the source. These idiots in Megacorp have something that is the origin of these sponsorships. We merely have to seize it.
Did you just explain your evil plan to us? That's stupid. If we escape, we can totally put a stop to your evil plan now and... Oh no, I do this all the time, don't I? So that's how I keep losing.
Thanks, Dark Lord. You just made it weird. Whatever. Going to sell out now. Later, losers.
Hey, any of you interested in joining La Resistance? We are recruiting right now.